guys. I've got cherries and berries up ahead. I'm getting closer now and not sure how close I'm going to be able to get to whatever's going on. It does look like there's some businesses here that I can pull into. Looks to be that they're on the freeway though. Looks to be on the freeway. We are in Rockwall, Texas, I think. We might be as far as maybe Fate, Texas. And it looks like I'm late. And it looks like they are stealing a car. It's cold out there. I don't know how long I'm going to last out there, but... And I'm definitely late. Somebody's getting their car stolen right now. Come on, I'm trying to get my jacket on. And where's my camera rig? This is most likely going to be Rockwall Sheriff's Department. These are some bad dudes. I can tell you that much. Some bad dudes. One of them is leaving the scene right now. Pulled off the freeway. Went down that side road. By any chance, David Boren is here. David, I'm right down the street from your house, man. I was working, just got off work and was headed home. Otto, what's up, man? Hey, Otto, I'm right down the street. I honestly don't know what the intersection is, but I just passed Greenville Chrysler. There's McLean's RV store right there. I'm at McLean's RV. On I-30, eastbound. Got this nasty little pig pulling all kinds of stuff out of the vehicle. The vehicle that took off was probably the vehicle that has the victim inside of it. The vehicle that took off was probably the vehicle with the victim. And they probably took the victim to put him in a cage. Yeah, this is definitely Rockwall Sheriff's Department. They're rummaging through this guy's stuff. I'm shivering. They don't even know I'm here. Because these guys are assholes. If they did know I was here, they would probably tell me I can't be here. That by recording them going through this car, I'm obstructing their investigation. But the road noise is loud enough. Dark enough where I'm at that they don't even realize I'm here, and I'm about, man, I'd say about 50, 60 feet away. So more than enough. I'm shivering. I don't know why it's necessary to so thoroughly dig through somebody else's property. I think he noticed that I'm here now and did not say anything, so God, I'm shivering so bad. Okay, come on, James, you little pansy, hold still and hold the camera still. Quit acting like you're cold. Stop shivering. I'm wearing shorts and flip-flops. I do have a jacket on, and if I had to guess, I think it's about 40 degrees out here right now. I wish I had my tripod because I know that this unstable camera has got to be driving you guys almost as crazy as it's driving me. I should ask him if I can sit in his car in the heater while I'm recording. Johnny 50. Do some burpees? No, just sandals, not even socks. I don't even have the socks, just sandals, just flip-flops. I do see a pink, what looks like a pink bra. I don't know if the deputy is trying to sniff it or what he's doing with it, but that's in the back seat, the one in the back seat. There's a pink bra, and I don't know if he's trying to sniff it, but that appears to be what he might be doing. Damn, they are really digging through this car. And you know, let me point something out here. They talk about officer safety all the time, right? We hear officer safety all the time. These guys have got their heads stuffed inside of this car, rummaging through somebody's personal belongings while traffic is flying by at 70 miles an hour right next to them. 70 mile an hour traffic right next to them. You know, if officer safety were really a thing, this right here wouldn't be a thing. Stopping somebody on the freeway in an incident that is not, or attempting to stop someone on the freeway in an incident that is not a immediate life and death danger wouldn't happen, period. It just wouldn't happen. I was in a car with Gunner. You guys all remember Gunner, right? Pretty cool dude. I was in the car with him. He was exceeding the master speed limit. I think he was doing 80 and a 70 or 85 and a 75, something like that, roughly 10 over. And got pulled over by a motorcycle cop. And I asked the cop, why is it that you, for one thing, I said, do you think you're actually helping anything, or that you're keeping anybody safe by stopping people and telling them that they owe you money for exceeding your sign, you know, the speed that you want them to go by 10 miles an hour? And he said, yes, absolutely. He said, what the problem is you can't have a bunch of different people doing multiple different speeds on the road. So, if you've got a guy who's doing 55 in the right lane, it's dangerous to have a guy who's doing 80 in the left lane because the speed difference is so significant that it causes a danger. And so I asked him, okay, well, what do you think about us sitting here doing 0 miles per hour in a lane right next to people who are now doing 70 miles per hour? And he didn't want to answer that. It has nothing to do with safety whatsoever. If it did, these logical questions would be answered. So I have no idea why this person's been stopped in the first place. But again, officer safety, officer safety, officer safety. James, you can't be close enough with your camera to be able to see what I'm doing. But they're closer, by the way, to the traffic that's doing 70 miles an hour than I am to them with the camera. Right? They're closer to 70 mile an hour traffic, 70 mile an hour, 80,000 pound 18-wheelers. They're closer to that than they are to me. And now, don't get me wrong, they haven't said anything to me specifically tonight about, oh, James, you can't be here, you're too close. But we hear it all the time, right? Oh, for officer safety, you need to move away. Oh, but for officer safety, the 18-wheeler doing 70 miles an hour is okay? It has nothing to do with officer safety. It's control, it's money, it's all that stuff. And, statism is a cult. Statism is a cult. It's a religion. It's not based on any type of logic or reason or anything like that. It's strictly faith-based. And the problem with statism is we're getting to a point where we're gathering enough factual information to disprove the faith. Anarchy is madness. Actually, I don't know. I think we have anarchy now. I don't know. But we're pulling up enough factual information to be able to prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that a lot of the things that they claim are for safety or, to create a civilized society or this or that, just factually are 100% incorrect. And so the faith is being shattered for a lot of people, as it was shattered for me many years ago. I believed that all this stuff was, I believed in the faith. People say anarchy. By anarchy, I hear a lot of anarchists like Larkin Rose, for example, is one that I've heard quite a bit. And it seems to me that, though, what they say is that it's just that no man or woman has any power or authority that another man or woman doesn't. And so, if it's based on the belief of life, liberty, and property, and that everyone is, it's based on the principles of the Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with inalienable rights, including life, liberty, and not property. It was estate was the original word used by John Locke. But the product of your life and liberty, what you do with your life and liberty, what you make, what you produce, is the product of your life and liberty, is your estate, your property, and so all it really is it says nobody has, a higher claim to your life, liberty, and property than yourself. And likewise, you have no claim to someone else's life, liberty, and property. So even when I hear these anarchists talk about stuff like this, they always talk about creating what I would consider a government. They do talk about creating courts where, when people have disputes and you need an arbitrator, that happens. That's real. So they always talk about creating a government, but it's a government based on the principle that this government was supposed to be founded on in the first place. But it just never, all the principles that the founders talked about from the very beginning were never, ever, ever lived. Never. They were, the U.S. has never existed in a state of actually living those principles. And truly that's what people are going to have to understand if we're going to make any change whatsoever in anything. You know, we can talk about, oh, well, the police need better training. Oh, we need to do this. We need to do that. No, until we fix the fundamental foundational problem, which is that we don't actually have a government that functions believing in the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and property, then nothing else is going to fix it. You can, training, from what I've seen, I was talking to a friend the other day, and he said his brother went out to try to become a police officer, and they give them so many scenarios, so many hypothetical scenarios for their training, but the truth is they're not based on principle at all whatsoever, and you can't train someone to you can't train people for every scenario that you're dealing with people with people in this type of job. You can't train for that. You can't teach it. You come up with a billion scenarios, it's not going to cover all the scenarios that these guys are going to experience in real life. And so no amount of training is going to teach. He just dropped trash on the ground. No amount of training is going to teach these guys to be principled individuals who understand the sanctity of life, liberty, and property. No amount of hypothetical scenarios, situations are going to help them understand that. Now, on the contrary, if you understand those core principles, then they can govern all of your actions, and then no matter what type of scenario comes up, you can always stop and step back and say, wait a second, I thought that this was a good idea at first, but does this actually align with the principles that I say I believe in? Do I actually think that it's okay for me to steal someone's car because they have marijuana and because they put the wrong plant, they inhale the wrong plant, or consume the wrong oils? I'm actually quite impressed that they have not said a word to me, because they do know that I'm here now. If only they could do that with Otto. There must be a stolen elephant out there. That's why they're looking through every nook and cranny. Billy Bob says, I just want to be equipped to deal with cops and don't get killed by them. Well, Billy Bob, I'm going to tell you, and I hope that everybody takes this very seriously. Our nation is not 100% not run on law. Whether you are talking about common law or whether you're talking about written legislation by politicians that are enforced by cops, we are not living under any type of order or law. Because if we were, then cops wouldn't be violating people's rights, blatantly violating the written legislation even, right? I mean, these guys, they don't just violate natural law. It's not about, oh, well, they're violating the Constitution or they're violating natural law. No, they will violate their own written legislation. And so what you really need to understand is that the way that the real society that you live in today is the guy with the gun who's willing to kill you is in charge. It does not matter what legislation you think you understand. It doesn't matter what rights you think you have. I promise you, I can 100% guarantee you from both personal experience and watching others that all of that is completely and totally null and void. All that matters is who's willing to use the most amount of force to get what they want. And that is literally what we live in today, which is what most people call anarchy. But that's not really anarchy. That's chaos. That is chaos. But it's not anarchy. I mean, if we lived in a society where knowing the written legislation and the laws mattered, nobody would ever be spoken to by a cop for recording in a public space. Especially in Texas, after Turner versus Driver, I mean, you've got, not only do you have the written legislation, but you also have the judgment, the the courts, everybody has agreed, oh yes, you can record public officials in a public place in their public capacity. If we actually went by law, and that was really the society that we operated in, nobody would ever be spoken to in Texas when they're out recording the police. Nobody. And the fact that people are constantly harassed, pushed around, arrested, charged, and even convicted on doing those things is 100% factual proof and evidence that the law does not matter at all. Whether you want to talk about natural law, constitutional law, written legislation, whatever you want to talk about, it is factual evidence, 100% undeniable truth that none of that matters. So really, I hope that that's what people understand the most. You know, you might be like, oh, well, I understand all the legislation now. I can go out and film police and I'm not going to get hemmed up. No, not true. Not only will knowing the legislation not keep you from getting harassed by the police, it won't even necessarily keep you from being arrested, charged, and even convicted by the court. At the point where people realize this, that, you know, you got to understand the situation that you're in before you can ever even, if you want to, say you want to fix the situation, you certainly can't fix it if you don't actually understand what the situation is, right? And so, I'm not into fixing the situation. I'm really not. I'm really into trying to just, in a stage where I hope that I can show people that this is not a society of law and order. This is the exact chaos that we created governments thinking that we could avoid. This is precisely what we created governments to avoid. So he took a lot of property out of that vehicle. Holy sh... Hey, is that cocaine? I think he's got a lot of drugs there. I could be wrong and I can't get a clear enough picture. I think he's got some big old bags of drugs there. He don't want to talk to me though. And hey, Justin Pulliam, good to see you, man. Yeah, look at Justin Pulliam. Justin Pulliam's channel and the work that he does, again, is 100% factual evidence that this system and these people do not operate under any type of law or legislation, including their own. Look at all the legislation that's written that says that they're supposed to give Justin public records, and how many of these organizations just absolutely, blatantly, outright refuse to obey their own legislation. And, you know, the tired old argument of, oh, well, you know, take it to court. Again, we see people convicted on a daily basis, even though they didn't violate any of the legislation. And we're not, I mean, you know, we don't even have to get into whether you believe in, common law or constitutional law, or whether you believe that the written laws, the way that they are today, are 100% completely relevant. Even if you believe that all of it is relevant, everything that they write on paper and call law is relevant, even if you believe that, it's still a system of total chaos because they refuse to follow any of it. And really, what is the repercussion when they refuse to follow it? What is the recourse? There's plenty of activists out there who are showing you what the recourse is, and essentially it's almost nothing. In order to try to get them to follow the law and hope that the courts will back you up on it and all that good stuff, I mean, it's going to cost you most of your life, all the money that you've got, all your time and effort. And still, you're only going to catch a couple of the bad guys, and most of them, they just walk away scot-free. I've learned that asking the judge to follow the law will get you 30 days contempt of court. That's right. Otto the Watchdog. Is Gavin Simon here? Do I have the legendary Gavin Simon in the chat, or are you guys just talking about the legendary Gavin Simon? You know, he tried to show people and tell people these things too before he left. He tried to show people and he tried to tell people. There is no justice in any of these courts. And I think that we're getting enough factual evidence to prove this, to the point where a little soaking in I think we're getting enough factual evidence to prove this, where, you know, it's just absurd for anyone to say otherwise. It's just gaslighting at this point. But I'm glad that there's still activists out there who are seeking to go through the system to achieve and attain justice. And with every one of their failures, which really, really does suck to see. It's horrible and painful to see. But with every one of their failures, my point is proven again. And it sucks that it has to be proven with real human beings' lives. But guys, what do you do at the point where you realize that you live in a society that is actually chaos? What do you do then? You move? Show me a place on earth where you don't have statism. These, you know, the systems, I go pee. The systems change from sovereign nation to sovereign nation. Over 200 sovereign nations claim to have freedom, but you know, all of those free sovereign nations are essentially very similar to this one. This is the same system that exists across the entire planet. So you say move, that's a good idea. Which planet? Which planet, guys? Just shut up and obey, says Colton. Yeah, that's really all you can do. That's all I do, and that's all I'll ever do. My job is to do nothing except show you what is really going on in front of your face. And it's called chaos. It's called exactly what we created a government to prevent. Let me see what the criminal interdiction sheriff. Yeah, that's Rockwall County Sheriff, both of them. All right, guys. Well, too bad I got here too late, and the victim had already been taken to a cage. Their property stolen. And I'll tell you what, out here in Rockwall, they want to search everybody. That was a Florida license plate, by the way, on that vehicle. But thanks for hanging out with me, guys. And please, if you want to really understand what's going on, and so that we can start, you know, maybe making some changes. We can't make any changes until people are truly educated about what's going on. Go Google statism. Go YouTube statism. Go see what it is. Go try to understand what it is. You know, I don't know, dig into it for yourself and say, is this really the type of society that I want to live in? Where the guy with the biggest stick, who's willing to murder the most people, makes the rules? Is that the type of society that I want to live in? And if not, then, you know, where do we go from there then? I didn't start doing this because I'm a criminal and I hate cops because they get bad guys. That's definitely not why I started doing this. Yeah, I started doing this because I'm not a fan of people who take life, liberty, and property, which is the definition of a criminal. So I will see you guys next time. Thanks for cop watching with me.